Hello, everyone. My name's Hank Suttala,
And I'm Casey McBride.
and we are here with another fun episode of Stir Crazy Shamans. You know, that graphic really reminds me of that. Have you ever been to those 3D theaters like that? It's like you're flying in a glider over.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Very
Uh,
cool. Today's topic is all about plant medicine, and it might not be what you think. We'll talk about all kinds of different things, but we're really talking about what you can do with plants other than ingesting them. If I'm understanding where you wanted to go with the topic correctly,
hmm,
or
uh,
or, or is it everywhere? I don't.
yeah. I was thinking kind of everything. I've been really interested in plant medicine for a long time. Started out just years and years ago. I was really fascinated with tea, and I'll never forget how I first got introduced to this. I was at a Zendo, it's like a Zen meditation center. And up until this point, the only experience I had with like consuming any herbs was just like Lipton tea bags with a ton of milk and sugar, and you couldn't even taste the tea.
Yeah, the
And
little tea with your sugar. Got it.
right. And so I was studying at the Zendo, and one day I went for my first Zen tea ceremony, and so you sit around in silence, and they pour you a cup of tea, and you just sit and drink the tea very mindfully, and your focus is just on that cup of tea. And it was actual tea. I think it was jasmine tea, if I'm not mistaken. So green tea infused with jasmine flowers. And it was amazing. It was just the taste of pure herbs, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever tasted. So I became really obsessed with really good quality loose leaf tea, and started to really study, where the tea came from, what it was called. I didn't even know there was a plant called Camellia sinensis, which is where the tea comes from, and then learn more about that. And that kind of got me interested in other herbs then. Okay, well, tea's great. So what else is out there? And then I've used a lot of herbs to help treat and deal with the anxiety that I used to suffer from really bad. And through exploring that, I found a lot of plant medicines that didn't just help to alleviate symptoms, but would help me to sort of work through issues and bring things to light so I could work through them. And then later on began to learn how to properly work with plant medicine, where instead of just consuming the substance and feeling its physical effects, you're inviting the energy of that plant spirit to work with you in your space. And then I would actually journey with the plants, and they would give me these very powerful healing lessons and experiences. And but I've been fascinated with all kinds of plant medicine for quite a long time.
Yeah, and my friend Brian, which we're going to have him on. We're going to call it like Midnight Meanderings or something. He's in Hawaii, so he's like 6 hours behind, so it's hard to get him on at the same time as us. But we're hopefully going to have him on, and he is like the plant medicine shaman of. He knows a ton of stuff, probably more than he should know. But one of the things, like no matter what you're going to work with, whether it's tea or an oil or whatever, if you are looking to have the spiritual experience, if you have an altar space, what I did, like the first time I got a shipment in from Peru and I was going to work with a special type of leaf, I put it on my altar and I just worked with it for like a month, even before I even thought about having an experience or anything with it. And just kind of sing to it every day. There's like certain songs you can sing to wake up the medicine, and different things like that, I just kind of got to know it energetically. Now, Brian, my brother on the path, he got the same stuff in and didn't bother with that, used it, and got no effect. And me, the first time, I could just feel it through my whole body. And it's like, whoa. And I had a completely different experience, but I had introduced myself to the spirit of the plant, not just having a chemical experience, but having a spiritual one.
And that's huge. Really, the magic and the power of plant medicine does lie in their spirit and in their energy. And I think the physical substance is just a really small portion of the power and the magical healing effect of the plant. But yeah, I know. I didn't know that I was inherently that sensitive in doing this before I was consciously calling in the spirit of the plant, but I was. And where I started to figure out that I was doing something different than the average person was that I would take a plant medicine, say something like for example, chamomile, right? Chamomile tea. People all over drink chamomile tea, and most people will just, they sit there, sip on it like before bed and relax and go to sleep. And then like I would drink chamomile, and I'd be like in this totally altered state of consciousness, and like almost feeling like I was having like a drug-like experience, but in a positive, very positive way. And it would be really powerful to the point where sometimes I drink something as simple as chamomile, and like I didn't feel okay to drive. Like that's how powerful it affected me. And then I would like, my friends would come over, and I'd be like, I discovered this really cool plant, come try this tea, whatever it was. And, some people would drink it. I had a couple energy sensitive friends that could feel the stuff along with me, but then there were a ton of people who would drink and they're just, yeah, it tastes good, but that's nothing other than that. And so I started to really pay attention and realize I was sensitive to the energy of the plant. And then I started to experiment, like Hank was saying. Sometimes I would just take what if it was like a tea or something like that, I would take the dried herbs in my hand and I would just hold it up to my heart and like really come into resonance with it. And then I would feel the same really powerful effects without even taking it into my body, just holding it and coming into resonance with the physical substance. And then I don't know when I first journeyed with a plant medicine, but that was when things really started to shift in terms of my experience working with plants.
Yeah. And I can say, like, from the experiences that I've had, there's also a tone that you might hear, because everybody perceives it differently. For you, you came into a resonance and you were really feeling it. And I always get these high-pitched different tones. And I've actually learned that different plants and different things actually have a different, to what me sounds like an audible sound. And all I have to do is picture myself like a diver falling off a boat into the water, and I'm falling into the sound, and off I go, having the experience without also ever actually having to consume anything. It's a really remarkable experience. So just know that if you're getting into this, your experience with how you get into that space might be different than Casey's or different than mine. The trick is to just have an openness to having the experience and calling the spirit teacher of the plant to you.
And different plants will have different how do I put it, like Hank likes to say, niches. So they're better for certain things, but all plant medicine helps us to connect and heal ourselves on some level. It helps us to connect with some aspect of ourselves that we may not have been able to as easily perceive without their assistance. So the experiences we're having aren't locked into the substance of the plant. Like, and just to give an example, so we're talking about plant medicine. I think a lot of people in shamanism assume that means like psychedelics. So just to reference that for a second, a psychedelic substance doesn't contain the visions within the substance itself, but they, by connecting with the powerful spirit of that plant, we alter our frequency in order to be able to perceive that which is already there, already within us and already within the realms of spirit. But same thing with any simple plant medicine that's not as powerful or intense an experience as the psychedelic. But, even just working with, like I said, chamomile tea or, whatever, like a pain relieving herb or whatever it might be. If you come into resonance with it, it will alter your frequency so that you are in a better place in order to get whatever work needs to be done in order to heal that particular aspect of yourself. But the plant there are very conscious spirits that are present within the physical substance, or that come through when consuming or coming into resonance with the physical substance. And when you begin to learn to open up a dialogue and communicate with that plant, which is, again, you consume the plant, it brings you to the frequency where you can then communicate with the spirit of that plant, and then it will share really powerful wisdom, insight, and healing with you. But that takes practice. It takes time to sort of develop the relationship with plant medicine. And one thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you have any experience with this, Hank, or if they teach about, well, I know in the Andean or Paco tradition, they don't really encourage a lot of work with plant medicine.
In the way up high mountains, they discourage it. They use breathing techniques basically to over-oxygenate the brain to reach the visionary state. They do have one hallucinogenic berry, but they use that more for entertainment while they watch their llama.
But now, and I don't, again, I'm more spirit taught when it comes to the shamanic work, but for me, I quickly after learning to communicate with the spirit of plants, met my own plant plant master that I call the spirit.
Okay.
And this plant master is sort of the like the mediator. So when I'm working with a new plant medicine, I call on my plant master, and then she will kind of introduce me to whichever plant it is that I'm working with, and kind of act as like the facilitator to ensure that the communication is happening in a way that's conducive for healing.
Sounds akin to, like, in spiritualism, you have a spirit band, and one of those spirit band entities is called a gatekeeper, and its job is to make sure that the interaction between you and other spirits is all good, and that you don't get anything that you can't handle. It doesn't mean it's the same thing, but it just kind of has a similar flavor to it as to something else I'm aware of. Now, in the curandero tradition, the more coastal traditions of Peru, they do have they use mushroom, and they also use San Pedro. And when the Spanish came in, they say, "Hey, we have the door to God," and they were looking at the Bible like, "No, no, the door's right there," and they're pointing to the cactus. Because it's the doorway into, like, to the vision realms and everything. They're like, "Oh no, it's right there," and that's why you also hear San Pedro. It's called Saint. That means like Saint Peter. That's where the name came from. It had a little bit of a Christian influence because of the nature of the plant and the Spanish influence with the curandero.
Fascinating.
Yeah, a little nerd shaman moment.
Yeah, and psychedelic plant medicine is an entirely different topic. I don't know if we want to go in that direction right now.
Well,
or
I don't. If someone asks a question about it, we can. First, let me state for the record, we're not medical professionals. We're not claiming to treat, diagnose, cure any disease, and it is illegal here. So, like, if you're considering that, go to where it's legal, and with someone you trust. So I'll start with that, kind of lightheartedly talking about it.
So, but kind of on that topic, so there are really powerful plant medicines that can open you up to having visionary experiences that, one, are considered to be very safe and also are completely legal in the United States and most places in the world that I'm aware of. And one of those is ceremonial cacao. I love this plant medicine. I think I've talked about it a little bit before, but I want to go a little more into detail about it. So most people are familiar with cacao as the ingredient that we use to make chocolate, at least good quality chocolate, right? And
hopefully even bad quality chocolate actually has some of it in there.
Hopefully. Nowadays, though, you don't know. So ceremonial cacao is technically the same plant, but the difference is that first and foremost, when we get even raw cacao, it's put through a process to remove the fat from the bean, and then we get it in that powdered state, and that's what we call raw cacao. And that process of removing the fat destroys a ton of beneficial constituents, organic compounds that are normally present in ceremonial cacao. And the other thing is it's not the original heirloom plant that came out of the ground. The cacao that we use has been bred by the Spanish over generations and generations to be more resistant to parasites and things like that. But in doing so, the caffeine content in the cacao was raised, but these other beneficial constituents were drastically reduced. So you get the heirloom cacao as it grew out of the ground, and all they do is take it, roast it just enough in order to be able to remove the shell easily, and then they grind the bean into a paste, and that's it. So it's, other than a short roasting to remove the shell, it's completely just the entire bean ground into a paste. So it's a very natural product, almost exactly as it came off the tree. And it is really high in, it's actually one of the most pharmacologically complex foods on the planet. So it has one substance that's where I think most of the research has gone into its therapeutic healing effects. It's called theobromine. And theobromine, I'm not exactly sure on like what receptors it works on in the brain, but I know there are substances that work on your dopamine, serotonin receptors, etc. But it was discovered, I want to say like a few decades ago by a guy named Keith. I can't remember his last name, but he was like really called to work with shamanism. Oh, cool. We have a little bit of information.
Yeah,
there.
it was too long to fit in, but I got some of it. Thanks to
Very cool.
Google. Thanks to Google, we can do stuff like that.
Very cool. And so this guy, he was in the U.S. I think he was studying, and I could be wrong in this, but I think he was studying like psychology and a few other things, and was really called to work with like shamanism and other spiritual practices. And so he was learning to do journey work, and the spirits told him, you need to go to Guatemala. So he went to Guatemala and he was there and he was enjoying it, but he was like, I didn't really know what he was supposed to do. And then one day he was journeying, and he says the chocolate spirit came to him. So the spirit of the cacao plant came to him and told him, hey, you're supposed to work with me. I'm this really powerful medicine that you're going to introduce a bunch of people to. And here's where you find me. And so in this journey, he saw this place that's, like not in a main town, like way off the beaten path in some like tribal village. And again, he just saw it in the vision. He'd never physically been there before, but he got up after the journey and he goes, okay, I'm going there. And he drove to where spirit showed him, and he shows up and there's this tribe and they're growing heirloom cacao and making ceremonial cacao. And so he buys as much as he can from them, and he starts working with it and realizes it's this really powerful plant medicine. And so he started to research it and everything, and he couldn't find any information on the ceremonial use of cacao other than like a few things referencing like the Incas used it for certain ceremonies, but there really was like not a lot of information on it at all. And even the local shaman weren't working with it. Like a lot of them he said, were using alcohol in order to achieve certain states to work with spirits. So I don't know what that was about, but he started to work with it more and more and learn from the spirit of cacao, and then brought the cacao ceremony to the West, or to the modern world. And now even a friend of mine I know who works at a place called the Studio, like they hold cacao ceremonies there, and they're like they're more I think there's more of them out west, like in California and all that. Like they're all over the place, but they've made their way to Ohio and
Yeah, I know Willow's actually, I don't know if she ran it or if she just participated by offering bowls, but she was doing a cacao ceremony one day when the same day I was doing a despacho ceremony for the solstice. And then so she did her event, then she came and did the despacho, and we had a whole day of ceremony around things. And she brought some of the ceremonial cacao to the despacho ceremony. It was included
Oh,
with
that's
what
so
we were
cool.
doing. So it was a kind of like cross, doing a little bit of a blending of traditions there.
That's awesome. And it was like the really cool thing about ceremonial cacao is that it is one that I think one of the big lessons it teaches a lot of people is that there is serious power in calling in the spirit and energy of a plant. So for example, if you were to just drink, so what they do is you take it's like almost looks like a chocolate bar, and you put that in hot water, whisk it up or blend it or whatever, and then you drink it. So it's like a drink. If you were to drink ceremonial cacao and then you had a busy day and you said, oh, I just realized I have to be out the door, and then were to run off and do your thing, you'd probably feel a little bit uplifted, energized. You'd feel pretty good, but not a whole lot more than that. But if you drink ceremonial cacao in a ceremonial setting and you have the intention of calling in its spirit to work with you, and you actually invite the spirit of cacao into your space to work with you and heal you, it goes from being just this sort of light uplifting experience to being almost like a psychedelic experience. It can be really powerful. People do have visions with ceremonial cacao, and but it really like opens up the heart and helps the people work through like serious emotional blockages surrounding the heart. And it can be a seriously intense plant medicine, but that you have to call in the spirit of it in order to have that really powerful experience.
I wonder what's the stay-at-home orders or have been relaxed and whatnot. Is that something that we might be able to do in person at the center and have people come in and have the experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do that. I would love to
Yeah.
facilitate.
Yeah, that definitely would be fun. And I know not quite as robust a story as that, but just with the tea that I got from Peru, and I had it on my dresser for so long. The very first time I ever had a cup, it was like my whole body. I had to lay down, and I could just feel it working throughout my entire body, and I had this amazing experience with it. And it's never been quite as magical as that first time, But it's like definitely, I believe it was me taking the time to really get to know the spirit of the plant that created the space for me to have that experience. If you just drink the tea like to your friend, a couple of your friends, they're just like, oh yeah, it tastes good, but there was no magic behind it.
Right. Yeah, it is. And uh, I saw a post recently on Facebook that kind of put this in a really cool way, but it was talking about how our vision, for example, we see just a certain frequency range of light, but outside of that frequency range of light, there's like almost an infinite number of different frequencies that we're not able to perceive. And so, how much is happening right in front of us that we're not able to perceive just because our eyes aren't wired exactly.
A ton.
So, and then same thing with like our sound or our sensation of touch. We're just perceiving these different frequencies, but it's only physically within a certain range. So same thing when we consume a plant, we're getting the physical frequency of that, and that does certain things. But if you were to use your spiritual senses, and in spirit, we are connected with all of the infinite frequencies. We can tap into anything in spirit once we learn to step out of the mind a little bit. And so when you're inviting in the spirit of the plant, instead of getting this little spectrum of the experience that it has to offer on just a physical level, you're now experiencing everything, or at least a lot more of what it has to offer on a spiritual, energetic level. And that's why it can be so much more powerful to actually invite the spirit and energy of the plant in.
Yeah. And when you start to embark on that work too, a piece of advice is to try to unearth as much as you can for what you would want to call your shadow self, or the things that you might have to work on. Certain plant medicines can have the effect of bringing all that stuff up, and if you're really not willing to look at it, then it might not be as comfortable experience for some people.
Yes.
So I bring it back to just asking the one question: when have I ever been unloving to myself or to another? And that is all the stuff that might come back from the time you were mean on the bus to a childhood friend and felt resentment or regret, rather, to shoplifting or whatever the case is. Like any place where you had something where you might have energy around it, call it out before you go in and have the willingness to work with it, and the experience would be much easier, potentially.
Yeah, and some plant medicines will really, like, they're going to bring that stuff up whether you're ready for it or not.
Right. Like grandma, they call ayahuasca grandma. She's like the hard hitter. She knocks you around a bit. But then you got grandpa who's like, oh, grandma knocked you up, hit you around and whatnot, hit you with a spoon, and grandpa like, well, say it's all right. That's ayahuasca and San Pedro, for those of you who don't know the references of who's who in terms of a family context.
And so yeah, but if you are called to work with any plant medicine, whether it's really powerful, something like ayahuasca, or whether it's just like a certain essential oil that you feel called to work with, it's really important to, and Hank doesn't like the word surrender, and as I'm thinking of it, I think it's much better to say to be in allowance of the experience, right? Because as certain things start to come up, that's why some people get turned off to certain plant medicines, because they start to work with them, and like you said, a bunch of anxiety or something will come up, and then they just want to shut down and resist, and then it becomes even more intense because they were fighting it, and the resistance causes a lot of tension and even more suffering and anxiety. So instead, whatever any plant medicine you're working with brings up, be in the space of allowing that to come through, and know that the plant is showing these things and bringing them up to give you the beautiful opportunity, if they need to be, to release whatever it is that's coming up, so that it's no longer causing you problems and issues. So be in the energy of allowing whatever it is that plant medicine brings up, to bring it up for you to work with it in whatever way you're supposed to. And yeah, I guess that's where I was with that allowance.
Well, and then the other thing to look at when, regardless of what thing you might be looking at, is ask the question: what would be a contribution for my body to give it the support it needs to work with this medicine? Because different medicines can be more hard on the body for different reasons. Some of them deplete dopamine, some of them do other things. So it's always like, I always call it like kind of like the good job you worked hard food. Like after you've done all the work with the journey space, it's like what foods are going to be a contribution to the body, or with ayahuasca specifically, going into that experience, you diet the plant. You have a very specific diet that you would follow for weeks or even longer leading up to the ceremony, because you're preparing the body for the experience, because the physical part is still very real with all that too, and you want to make sure you take care of you, yourself, and your soul, body, being, and beyond.
Yeah, and that's a subject that I'm not as well versed in as a lot of people, but fasting or going on a specific diet before working with certain plant medicine or any plant medicine is a really good idea. And if nothing else, I tell, because I know a lot of people who are interested in working with any kind of plant medicine. Oftentimes people will, they at least, at the very least, drink coffee or tea a lot of the time. And then if they're not drinking coffee and tea, then maybe they smoke cigarettes or drink alcohol. So they're using other plant, really powerful substances. So I tell people, if you're not going to fast, and with food or whatever, and not change your diet, then at the very least, eliminate the other substances you're used to consuming before the experience. Because if you have all these other plant medicines or substances already in your system as you bring another one in, then, one, I don't think you're as pure a vessel to have a clean experience with that. But then, who knows whether those within your field, whether you're allowing those plant medicines to get along. Like if you don't have a good relationship with caffeine,
right. Develop the relationship first.
If it's an abusive relationship you have with that caffeine or nicotine or alcohol or whatever it is, and then you bring in something that's trying to heal you, there may be an internal sort of energy.
Oh, see, I wasn't even thinking of it from that context. I was thinking of it. That's really a good point. Like if you have an addiction, call it whatever you will, and you're asking a medicine teacher to help you, there might be a little bit of butting heads, and that might not be as smooth of an experience. So it's
right.
And going into fast, I'll wean myself off of coffee and stuff like that. So I'm going in without the addiction to the caffeine and whatnot. But the other thing would be get to know one spirit at a time. Down the road, if there's a space where you might be mixing things, always also work with someone that knows and is familiar with all the things that you're planning to work with. And on the more harder medicines, not harder, but the more that take you into a space because of chemicals and things like that, you really want to have a sitter. You'd never be by yourself, someone that's not partaking in that experience that can make sure that you stay safe in where you're at.
Yeah. And, oh, wow. Spirit just took it away from me. You were saying something. Oh, come on. Spirit.
I'll throw it back to you. Here you go. Did that work?
I felt the energy of it. The words are coming.
5.
Well, if it comes, it'll come. Oh, geez. There was anyway.
Well, and if you're tuning in, you're welcome to ask your questions and comments, especially when we get derailed like that energetically. But it wasn't, at least it sounded like the other day when our board was going all crazy and stuff.
Oh yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, but feel free to ask your questions and comments. We can put the question up on the screen. We can speak to it, but there's no topic that's off limits.
Sorry, don't mean to interrupt because it came back.
Go for it.
So working with multiple plants at the same time, I see so many people making this mistake. Like I talk to people about plant medicine, be it like essential oils or herbs they can use for like relaxation, anxiety, or other kinds of healing, whatever it might be. And I know tons and tons of people, their initial reaction is, oh, wow, I have these 4 or 5 herbs that I just bought and they're great. So I'm going to take them all. And so it'll be even better because I'm taking all of them. And then I tell people, okay, one, it's important to develop a relationship with the plant medicine. So who do you even know you're interacting with if you have 5, 10 plants that you're consuming all at once for the first time? And second, let's say you consume those 10 plant medicines at the same time and you're not having a good experience. Okay, now, the first point is you don't know which one of those plants didn't agree with you, or was it just the combination of all of the plants, or 2 of them or 3 that didn't agree? So you don't even know. And then because you had that bad experience, you may associate that with the energy of a plant that could have been a really powerfully healing plant for you. So you've cut yourself off from that because you had a bad experience by combining it with all these other plants, and it just caused chaos in your system. So yeah, take the time, slow down, resist that urge to take everything at once because it's exciting.
And less is more. Less is more, especially if you're using oils and stuff. Just to give you an idea, this is just one little bottle of essential oil, about 225 drops, and about a peppermint. 1 drop of peppermint is equivalent of drinking I think 30 cups of peppermint tea or so, just to give you an idea of how concentrated it can be. And then energetically, all that's irrelevant. The spirit is the spirit. So, but if you are going to be using any sort of volume of medicine or anything like that, you really want to be mindful. Less is more. You don't want to, start too much and then be sorry later, because once you do it, you can't just click a button and make it stop necessarily.
Yeah, and like we're saying, you don't even need to consume the plant medicine in order to have an experience with it. So especially the first time, I think it's more important to develop a relationship. Well, I know it is more important to develop a relationship with the spirit of the plant than it is to like actually experience the substance in whatever way it's interacting with your brain and body. So yeah, take a small amount the first time to just introduce yourself physically a little bit, and then to really introduce yourself energetically to the spirit. And then you'll have a better gauge for, okay, next time I want to experience more of the physical side along with the spirit. So next time I'll take us a little bit more. But then also don't make the jump to like taking a little bit and then like taking 10 times that amount because that was good the first time. You know, you can slowly work your way
Yeah,
up.
you definitely want to be mindful with that. And the other thing, if you have an altar, like I would always go, uh, like put it on my mesa, depending what I was going to plan to work with it on, put it on a different spot, and we would say that you're letting it cook. So you're just letting it set, and or if you have a place where you meditate, you just put it down, and your intention is, I'm just developing the relationship to cultivate working with the spirit plant before I actually go using it or whatnot. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Dr. K. We got more people. She's saying yes is more. Exactly. So yeah, you want to be mindful with it. Like there was even a kid, I think it was actually a TV show. Maybe there was like a little boy was sick, and the brother thought, well, if I give him a whole bunch of vitamins, he'll get better faster, and it actually caused a toxicity issue because there's so much vitamins that the kid got sick
Oh,
because of the
geez.
vitamins, because your body just can't process as much. So less is more, and ask your body, like, hey, body, how much would be a contribution, and start to get in touch with stuff, things like that.
That brings up a really good point. When working with any plant medicine, no matter what it is, you really need to be in tune with your body and listen. And I see this all the time. I think it's somewhat a product of our culture. We have this sort of, more is better mentality with a lot of things. And for example, like, okay, so alcohol is like the most uh, glorified drug in America, at least I think probably the most glorified drug, other than like maybe caffeine.
Yeah, I guess it's a toss up. Alcohol gets more publicity for sure, though.
Yeah, but so it's the culture though is you go out and people are like sitting there slamming drink after drink until they're like so drunk they're acting ridiculous and vomiting and getting sick and all this and I guarantee you that if these people that do this all, and I'm not saying I haven't been there before in the past myself, but if you take the time, if you were to consume a powerful substance like that, be it alcohol or whatever it is you're working with, if you were to actually really check in with the body and tune in and whatever it is, drink, smoke, whatever you're doing, and feel your body's like, okay, how am I feeling? All right, well, I'm having an experience here. I'm cool with that. And then maybe have one more. Okay, this isn't feeling so good, so I'm going to stop there and then hopefully come back down. Whereas people just ignore their body completely and like, hey, everyone around me is having a good time. Hey, you want another shot? Yeah, take that one. Next thing you know, it's horrible for everyone.
Yeah. As a former professional drinker that's been retired for about 12 years now, I remember all the time that you had that one where you're like, yeah, that was the one I should have stopped at, right? But it's too late. You took it and you're past that point.
And yeah, and then the other, cannabis is. I feel like we can talk about that now. This is people are becoming more accepting of at least hearing about it, having it talked about. It's a really powerful plant teacher, but I see so many people really like abusing it, and people do become really dependent on it, and it has very negative effects for people who think it's doing them good. And I know, like the stuff that is out there nowadays is so potent that a tiny amount to a person who isn't addicted to it and hasn't built a tolerance, a tiny amount of it is going to create a really powerful experience. And then you get people who sit there and they're just smoking all day long, like massive quantities of this stuff. And I think those people, if they were to tune into their body, even with their tolerance level, if they were to really tune in and feel and just use a small amount, that experience might be a lot more pleasant for them than if they were to just consume absurd quantities.
Oh, but the thing is, people that are doing that, typically, not everyone, but a lot of times people are using those things to medicate out of being aware of things because it's uncomfortable because they haven't done their inner work or whatever, and it's being used as an escape. So plant medicine across the board in general, are you using it to have an experience and expand your consciousness, or are you using it to medicate the shit that you don't want to look at. And if it's the second one, then it might be time. Well, maybe I should go see a healer, or get some take time to work on me first before I go to use that, because otherwise it could become a slippery slope. Oh wow, I had that great experience and I forgot about all this for a minute, and it's becoming more recreational use than a spiritual use.
Yeah, and oh, spirit keeps taking them away. The thoughts that are coming into my mind. Yeah.
What are you aware of that you're not acknowledging? I don't know.
Oh. But yeah, I know for me personally, when working with plant medicines, I kind of have a little bit of a like predisposition to be, I don't want to say an addictive personality, but a very passionate personality when it comes to certain things. And
That's a nice way to say it. Yeah.
so when I would find a new plant medicine that I was working with, like for example, I like first discovered, I'm trying to think of a good one, like wild lettuce. When I first discovered that, I really loved the energy of it and the way it affected me. And so I would sit there and I'd drink some tea, and then I'd have the experience, and then half an hour later, I'm like, okay, let's have another cup, and oh, that was cool. But what happens, and I don't know if it's just built into me or whatever, or because I'm so sensitive, but all the spirits of all the plants I've ever worked with, when I started to do that, they all at a certain point go, all right, we're done. You can't work with me anymore. And that same plant that was giving me these beautiful experiences and making me feel so good, all of a sudden, my body and my energy just completely reject it. And it's now causing the opposite. Like it would cause me way more fear and anxiety and panic and all this stuff. And it was only when I started to get to the point where I was not I don't know, I guess abusing in a certain way, but not really honoring the spirit of that plant and working with it consciously, just consuming it because I like the way it felt. And then my body 100% of the time will reject the plant medicine. So, but I've learned from that now. And now if there is a plant that I really enjoy and I work with it, I go, oh, wow, that was awesome. Set that aside. And if I feel called to work with it a month, 2 months, a year down the road, that'll be great. But only when spirit says it's time. And instead of that was cool, so I can't wait to get up tomorrow and do it again. So maybe I don't need. I just learned the lesson yesterday. Why do I need to go through the same experience again? But to me, I've the way and communicating with my plant master, I've learned that it's sort of you're not really respecting the spirit of that plant. Just like if say a friend, who's really helping you through a rough time in your life, maybe you call them the first time and they, you're not feeling so good. So they spend the time talking with you, and you get to the place where you're feeling good. And then, they're like, okay. And they feel good because they helped you, and you feel good because, it was a beneficial experience for both of you. And then you call them the next day and you go through the same thing again. Okay, maybe they're still willing to help with you and work through whatever it is. And then you call with them halfway through that next day again. And maybe now, okay, fine. Okay, well, let's go through this one more time. And then it happens again. And now they're getting a little annoyed. I've worked with you, so why, maybe you need to do some of the work on your own. Well, and then you call them up 5 times a day, every single day. Well, now maybe you're no longer friends for very long. Just giving the analogy there. It's not a perfect analogy, but with the plant medicine, same thing. If you're not actually respecting that plant and working with it in a way that you're honoring its spirit and really trying to learn whatever it is it's trying to teach you and doing some work on your own to expand upon it, then that plant medicine is not going to want to work with you.
You got to do your part. Just like we were talking the other day with creation, it's giving you a lot of information and some tools, but you got to take it and do your own part with it and do your own work outside of the medicine space.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's you have to have a co-creationship with plant medicine.
There you go.
That word, or was it just creationship? I like co-creationship. That's a
well, plus creationship might be trademarked. I don't know. So maybe co-creationship could be ours.
Co-creation. Wonderful.
Well, I always thought of it as co-creationship or co-creation, and especially in the books from Neil Donald Walsh, Happier Than God, he talks about the mechanism and manifestation. It's all about co-creation because it's you as a separate being, working with the one ship basically and everything. So same type of thing, just a different vocabulary. And I thought I might know why our ideas have been fleeting this today. We actually haven't invited the spirits of the plant to be a part of our conversation.
Oh, yeah, let's.
Like I was getting that. I was like, oh yeah, well yeah, we were talking about you got to like call in the spirit of the plants, right? And where is my no? Where'd it go?
Oh, you lose the mesa? Oh no, the mesa.
That's not lost. It's just temporarily misplaced.
Okay.
Temporary state of mislocation. So we'll just call them in a little bit here. Hahaya Pachamama, ompui, 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 yari mama unu, mama kocha, mama kia, ompui, ompui, ompui. Hahaya Taiwantan waira, ompui, ompui, ompui. Hahaya inti taita, wilke inti taita, ompui, ompui, ompui. Iari kuichikuna, ompui, ompui, ompui. Iari hatan Wilka hatan plant medicine kuna, because I don't know how to say plant medicine in Quechua. Ompui, ompui, ompui. But we can work a couple specific ones. Iari punka, ompui, ompui, ompui. Hatan punka, ompui, ompui, ompui. Iari warakocha, ompui, ompui, ompui. Basically, Wilka hatan is the sacred higher soul or higher consciousness of plant medicines. Kuna is plural, so calling in all the higher aspects of consciousness of all the plant medicines and bringing them here to be part of our conversation. Maybe that was the missing part.
And I call upon my plant master, please be present with me now and help to facilitate this conversation and bring in the energies of any plants that wish to communicate any of their messages, any of their wisdom, any of their energy. Please use me as the hollow bone through which your energy and your words will flow. Thank you.
There we go. See, that feels a lot lighter, doesn't it?
It does. It feels much lighter. I almost feel like I want to guide people through a little exercise that they might use if they are interested in working with a plant medicine that they can sort of use for any plant.
Almost. So let me know when you're ready.
Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, go ahead and talk for a little bit because I feel like I need to channel and get myself in the space for this.
Okay. Well, so if anybody, while he's getting in the space for whatever is about to happen, you can make any questions you like or comments that you like, and we can speak to those. And while he's also doing that, I will just mention we do have coming up, which is going to start on April 23rd, the new moon, a Navigating the Sacred Shamanism workshop with my teacher, Zane Kerfman. And basically, it's going to be a 6-week virtual series where you're going to build a Tehuantán mesa. It looks similar to this, which is means Four Corners Mesa, and begin to start working with it to develop relationships with the sacred landscapes in your own backyard, all the places. Even if you're watching this from a different place than Cleveland, Ohio, no matter where you are, the Caro that taught Zane charged him with get people to see the sacred landscapes in their own backyards, that they don't have to come to Peru or go to Tibet in order to have these experiences and these connections to the sacred. So I just posted the link to the sign up if that is something that is calling to you. And then our apprenticeship program got bumped to May because of the stay-at-home order. So we actually came out with this as an offering while we're hopefully waiting for the stay-at-home or to go away, and start with our in-person initiations for the Hatan Karpai in May. And Hatan Karpai just means great initiation. And the idea in the Caro tradition is you go to wherever the energy is naturally present. So you go to the cave to connect with the earth. You go to the Nustas, the water spirits, to connect with the water or the waterfalls. You actually go to those physical locations versus like sitting in a circle, banging drums and like going in your mind's eye. You go to where the energy is physically present. Same idea with Reiki, actually. Dr. Izui up on the mountain, he had gone up to the mountain because it was a natural hotspot, and he became attuned to that energy. And kind of the same way we go about it in the Caro tradition. Did I stall long enough?
Yeah. Okay. So Spirit told me what I'm supposed to guide people through.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, I will zoom in on you here.
Okay. So you can do this with any plant medicine that you have available, whether that's a cup of Lipton tea or some essential oils, or if you have ceremonial cacao or whatever it is. I'm just going to guide us through a quick little exercise that you can use for anything. So if you are watching this, you can catch the replay on Stir Crazy Shamans on YouTube, and it's more about the energy of the experience. The words aren't really that important. So if you don't remember the words or whatever, and you just want to try it on your own, just kind of remember the energy of the experience. And you, whether or not you have some kind of plant medicine that you can work with or not in your hand, that doesn't matter for right now. Just know that you can use it when you do have access to that. So everyone take a moment, take a nice deep breath. Exhale slowly. And bring your attention into your body. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe. And as you exhale, make a conscious effort to relax the muscles of your body just a little bit more. Take a few more breaths, just consciously relaxing any areas in your body that you feel really tense. If you notice your shoulders are a little tense, just kind of let them go limp and relaxed. If your chest feels a little tight, breathe and feel it open up, relax. And become aware of your body. Really feel all of the sensations in your body. Tune in and become curiously aware of every sensation you feel in your body. Become aware of the vast and powerful energy of the earth below you. Whether the earth is right below your feet or whether there are several floors of a building in between, the earth is vast and powerful and its energy is right there. Become aware of this vast, powerful energy of the earth. And know that at the center of the earth, there is a core, not just physically, but energetically. There is a powerful core of energy. And if you're not familiar with working with energy, just imagine what it would be like if you could see and feel the energy of the core of the earth. And using your imagination, your intention, breathe and bring the energy from the earth up into your feet, through the center of your legs, until they merge at the hips, and continue to travel up through your spine, out the top of your head. And continue to run this energy from the core of the earth up through your body and out the top of the head, feeling it flow. And allow the energy of the earth with your intention and your imagination to continue to flow until the point that it starts to expand past the central column, past the center of your legs and your spine, until it moves outward, filling every cell of your body all the way to the surface of the skin. Imagine, feel this energy as it fills every part of your body and then begins to extend past the skin and out into your field of personal space around you, into your aura, your luminous energy fields, the bubble of energy around your body, your personal space. Feel that light, that energy from the core of the earth filling every part of your energy fields as you become more deeply and intimately connected with the energy of the earth. And now take whichever plant medicine it is you're trying to work with, whether it's your essential oil or your tea or whatever it might be, and hold it in front of you. And then slowly open your eyes to a soft gaze and bring your attention to the sight of this plant, of this medicine, in whatever form it comes. Become intimately and curiously aware while remaining completely relaxed about what this plant medicine looks like in whatever form it comes. And then feel it. Feel it with your hands. If it is a dried plant, get a feel for the texture of it. If it's an essential oil, just for now, hold the bottle, feel it with your hands, and then smell it. If it's an essential oil, go ahead and open it up. Smell that and notice any change in your body as you bring the scent of that plant into you. Does it make you feel more calm, more relaxed? Do you feel new sensations arising in your body that you weren't aware of before? And imagine now that the sensation of touch as you're feeling this plant medicine extends past the physical substance and goes inside of it. Imagine you are feeling inside of this plant medicine. Even if you're only able to sort of imagine that, just go into it with your attention as best you can. Feel inside of the liquid, inside of the dried plant or whatever form it takes. What does it feel like inside of it? And bring it up to your heart, extending that sensation inside of the plant into your heart. Breathe, open up, realizing that the skin is just an artificial barrier and mostly space. So allow the sensations of that plant to enter into your heart. Breathe and allow the energy of the plant to enter into your heart, and really pay attention here to how this feels. What does it feel like to bring the energy of this plant into your heart? Notice any changes you feel throughout any part of your body and energy fields. And bring your awareness into this plant medicine as if that is the center of all of your attention, as if you're seeing, thinking, feeling from the medicine itself. And begin to introduce yourself to the plant medicine. Ask, how are you today? And just feel whatever comes up, even if it's just silence. That's the most beautiful communication. How are you today, clary sage, or whatever plant it is you're working with? And if you are ready and you feel called to work with this plant, ask and make sure it's all right with the plant that you have an experience with it. So you may ask now, whatever plant that is you're working with, so in my case, clary sage, is it okay if I invite you into my energy field to work with me for my healing so that I might grow and learn and become a more whole, perfect version of myself for the betterment of myself and for all? Is it okay if I work with you today? And listen and feel the response. If it feels light, if you feel a lightness or a joy or a happiness or simply peace, then know that that's usually a sign that yes, that's okay. If you get the words yes, even better. But if it feels heavy, if you feel tense, if there's an anxiety around it, that might mean it's not time to work with that plant. And if it is time to work with that plant, in whatever way you would normally consume this plant, if it's an essential oil, make sure it's diluted and then apply it however you would to the pulse points. If it's a tea that you've already prepared, if you haven't already, take the time to prepare it and then bring your attention to it. First, engage the sight. Look at the cup of tea, the essential oil, smell it. Again, just continuing to engage with all of the senses. And then when you're ready, bring it in, consume it in whatever way is correct for that particular form of plant medicine. And once you've consumed it, sit and feel. And now take a moment to feel that plant medicine as it begins to merge with your energy field, and now call out, clary sage, or whatever plant you're working with. I invite your spirit now, please enter my energy fields, enter my space. Work with me, work through me. Help me to learn whatever lesson it is I have to learn. Help me to be open to whatever wisdom and energy you have to share with me. I invite you here now, and I thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being present and sharing your incredible beauty and wisdom and energy with me right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as you proceed, take as much time as is necessary and really feel whatever that plant is doing and working with your energy field in whatever way it is. Really feel all of the sensations, the subtle and the strong. Feel every little nuance of what it's trying to do and work with you, and go into it once you find it with your attention. Go even deeper into it. And if it has images that it brings up, thoughts that start to occur, just be mindful, pay attention, don't get too clung or hung up on any one, but really experience them fully and then allow them to pass. And as each thing comes up, allow it to arise and pass, and take as much time as you need and just be with that plant medicine. Don't start to feel it, get excited, and then go, oh, I want to hop on Facebook and then tell people about this. No, spend the time, even if it's a couple of hours you need to spend, just be with that plant medicine and take the time to experience every little bit of energy it has to teach you. So that's a great way that you can introduce yourself to a plant medicine and start to work with its energy in a conscious way.
That was great. Thank you, Casey.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all.
See what happens when you call the teacher plants in. Casey goes in channel mode.
Yeah, she was like, hey, I've got something you need to share with people right now. So I'm very glad he brought our attention to calling in the spirits.
Yeah. I think they were trying to get our attention and we just weren't quite paying attention again. So that's something we could work better on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can always work on developing our relationship with the spirits.
And if anybody has questions or comments, you can certainly post those, and we love to speak to them. If you're catching this on the replay, thanks for hanging out the whole time. We're just wrapping up almost the hour mark, not quite. So would like to take time. If you have comments, feedback, suggestions, other topics that you'd like to hear about. I think tomorrow we're going to do psychic abilities.
Yeah, that'll be a fun topic.
Yeah, and we're kind of migrating the time. We had been doing this at 1 o'clock, and we're slowly migrating it. Eventually, we'll get to about 9:30 in the morning, with the idea that as there is a new normal and people's days get into somewhat of a routine, we can still do 9:30, where if we were to pick 1 o'clock, we would have to change the time later. So we're just kind of slowly migrating it to that time now. So if you're wondering why we're on kind of randomly, that's the reason why.
But we will, like you said, we will have a more regular schedule. And then since we're getting to the end here, notice my little logo's up in the corner. So please check out Shaman's Way. If you enjoyed that little experience we went through, I do all kinds of guided shamanic meditations, channeled messages from spirit. And then maybe Hank can post, or I can do it, I guess. I can post the link. So I'll post a link here to Shaman's Way YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you enjoy this kind of thing. And I offer all kinds of stuff to help us all to learn and grow. So thank you.
Yeah, and then we have our channel is Stir Crazy Shamans, and that is in the description link from where I posted the video. So if you're watching on Facebook, if you click that link, go over, subscribe to Stir Crazy Shamans. It helps us out. Once we hit a certain number, we get a custom URL and get all fancy. And you also check out, there's my logo, hanksutala.com. If you want to find out more about me, there's all kinds of fun stuff on my website. And I did post a link to the shamanic apprenticeship, the virtual 6-week class, which is going to be virtual but has homework to go out into nature and build your Taiwan mesa. So
very cool.
It's fun. So quiet group tonight, but that's cool. Everybody's in the zone.
Hopefully they're having an experience with their plant medicine right now.
Yeah. Don't take yourself away from the plant medicine to say hello or anything.
Okay, so I've just posted. Hopefully I did that right. I don't know if I did.
It looks like it did it right.
Okay, I think I did.
I posted to all the places.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, and if you're watching the replay, if you go to our Facebook pages, you'll see all the links in the comments, or on the YouTube. It's in the comments. All the links for things that we talked about are there. So very cool.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, tonight, is it Tuesday? Today's Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. Isn't that great? How does it get any better than that we don't even know what day it is?
So we're very in the moment right now. So tonight at 7 p.m., if anyone's interested, I am doing another shamanic meditation live. So feel free to join in on that. I just offer them for anyone, whoever wants to join in. And tonight we are journeying to the lower worlds to have an experience with the spirits in the lower worlds. The lower world is a very powerfully healing place. We can get a lot of really amazing work done there. So please join in on Shaman's Way YouTube. And that's the main place I really want people to go for, is Shaman's Way YouTube. But it's at 7 p.m. tonight. Feel free to join in. All I ask is your energy and attention. If you can subscribe, that's wonderful as well. But then I also, in the description, will have a link if you'd like to make a contribution to help us out so we can continue to do even more amazing things with all this stuff. That will be there as well. So
Yep. And I have a thing going on at 7, but catch mine on the replay because the energy of the meditations is better to catch live. But I'm doing Power of Possibilities with Sean Phillips. And basically, that's a really interactive experience where we do some online facilitation work. But you can catch that on the replay, I think, more digestibly than a meditation live because either one, it's going to be archived. But I think there's something special when you're in the energy as a meditation takes place. So if I had to pick one, I'm kind of salty I can't be on for the meditation because I have my own thing going on. But ours will be archived on the HHH YouTube channel or on the HHH page. Both will stream there, but catch them both if you can because it's both awesome. Ooh,
Yeah,
I just see out of the corner of my eye. That was interesting.
I saw that too. Yeah, your screen went all crazy for a second.
Ooh, cool. I like it. We're getting more and more entities joining us during these. If you haven't, was it the last episode or was it the one before that? I don't know. There was this one where this entity was messing with us, and it even made the screens flip. So like Casey went to the right, the other side, and I went to that side, and I don't even know how to do that without removing us from the feed.
Yeah, it was wild.
Oh, Mike, which link did you need, Mike? I'm not sure. Yeah, Amy said that it was wonderful meditation, so she was thanking you here.
Thank you so much.
And Mike is asking for a link, but I'm not quite sure which link he's wanting.
He may have been asking for the link to tonight's meditation. If so, I'm gonna in case I'll grab that because I already did schedule it. So let me grab that real quick.
He'll grab it from YouTube, the direct link to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I posted the one to the channel, but then I'm also going to post the link to
the actual video itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let me grab this. Okay, so this is tonight's meditation.
And if you go on Shaman's Way too, all the meditations that he's done have been archiving there, so you can go back and they all have different themes. I don't know if he always knows the theme going into it, but afterwards I think he updates the description for whatever it happened to be.
Yeah, sometimes I get like 3 days out. It's like, okay, this is what the next one needs to be. Other times right before I go into it, I'm like, I don't know. And Spirit tells me.
Very cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this little thing of Stir Crazy Shamans. To end, I'm going to just offer, I was going to start playing while you were doing your meditation. I'm like, nah, I'm going to wait just for a minute. But I'll
remind me to talk to you because I want to talk to you about combining sound together that we might do in the future here or elsewhere.
Oh, that'd be great. And I'm not sure if this is going to pick up well with the headset or not. And if not, then, deal with it. You'll have to come see me in person, but we'll try it. There we go.
Thank you.
Nike. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We sincerely love that you're present with us and hope to see you again on the next one.
Thank you.